guys. So a week before Charlie lost his life, he expressed some concerns about the finances at Turning Point USA. In fact, he wanted to put together an entire department, a little mini department, to address those concerns, and we have evidence.
The moment the IRS showed up at the Turning Point USA headquarters, everything changed. And at the center of the storm was a trembling, wide-eyed Erika Kirk, clutching her phone as investigators demanded documents she swore didn't exist. Witnesses say she tried to walk out the back door before agents blocked her path, asking one chilling question: where is the missing 15 million? That number has been whispered across private group chats, leaked emails, and anonymous insider posts for weeks. But now it's public, and the consequences are spiraling fast. Staff members are panicking. Accountants have reportedly stopped responding entirely, and Charlie's old supporters are suddenly distancing themselves as if they've known something all along. And the craziest part? A source claims Erika made a late-night call 2 days before the audit, crying, saying, "They're going to blame this on me." What exactly did she know? And when did she know it? Because according to new reports, the IRS didn't just show up randomly, they were tipped off. And the name attached to that anonymous tip? It's one nobody expected. Buckle up, because once you hear who allegedly exposed Erika, nothing about this scandal will look the same again. Before the scandal shattered everything, Erika Kirk had built her entire public image on polished smiles, gentle speeches about faith, and carefully curated moments beside her husband at Turning Point USA events. Behind the scenes, though, insiders say the pressure on her had been simmering for years. Pressure to be perfect, pressure to protect Charlie's brand, pressure to act as if their marriage and empire were flawless. Those close to her describe Erika as someone who always walked on emotional eggshells, constantly worrying about disappointing the people around her. She had grown up in a strict household, the kind where showing weakness was unacceptable and failing publicly was a sin. Her diaries, several pages of which allegedly leaked last year, painted a picture of a woman who felt trapped between her own guilt and the expectations forced onto her. "I feel like a ghost walking through my own life," one entry read. Another said, "Charlie's name brings power, but I carry the responsibility." When Charlie died, that pressure didn't disappear. It multiplied, transforming into fear, confusion, and an overwhelming need to control the narrative. She couldn't grieve privately. She had to manage a political brand while battling the storm inside her. Meanwhile, TPUSA insiders had begun whispering about financial irregularities long before the IRS showed up. An accountant who left months before the audit said she felt uncomfortable signing off on documents that had holes you could drive a truck through. Staffers whispered about misfiled grants, missing invoices, and mysterious consulting fees that no one could trace. They said money would vanish into vague budget lines, reappear on travel reports, then vanish again. One worker claimed Erika would show up at random hours, asking strange questions about donor accounts, sometimes crying, sometimes angry. Erika was unraveling, the staffer said. She looked like she was trying to fix a disaster she didn't fully understand. But the emotional chaos didn't stop there. Erika had also been dealing with ongoing tension between her and Charlie's closest team members. Some believed she held too much influence after his death. Others felt she was desperately clinging to whatever pieces of power she had left. There were rumors that she often clashed with Mikey McCoy, Charlie's chief of staff, behind closed doors, rumors that took on a darker tone after footage leaked showing Mikey's unsettling behavior during the shooting. Some said Erika blamed Mikey privately for what happened. Others insisted they were still working together, but barely speaking. And then came Mickey McCoy's wife, a woman who had stayed silent for months until leaked messages, allegedly hers, cracked the entire facade. To understand her motives, you have to know the history. She and Erika were once close. Not best friends, but close enough to know each other's secrets. Trips together, late-night venting, emotional confessions masked as prayer conversations. One insider said they once had a fallout so explosive, staff thought they'd never speak again. And yet, according to the leaks, this same woman may have been the one to expose the financial inconsistencies to the IRS. Why? Some say jealousy. Some say revenge. Some say guilt. But the truth is deeper. She had allegedly confided to friends that she knew too much and worried that if the truth came out, Erika would pin everything on her and her husband. Erika was spiraling, the friend claimed. She was paranoid, emotional, and terrified people were turning on her. These emotional fractures weren't new. They'd been building ever since Charlie's shooting. Erika's grief wasn't clean. It came with suspicion, unanswered questions, and the weight of secrets she didn't want to carry anymore. Her conversations with close friends reportedly grew darker and more desperate. She feared being blamed for things she didn't do, and terrified someone would reveal the things she did. And then there was the money. The missing $15 million wasn't just a number. It was years of shaky accounting, last-minute adjustments, and internal panic that no one wanted to admit existed. Erika had allegedly begged TPUSA to hire external auditors months ago, but they refused, worried it would open Pandora's box. And when she tried to distance herself from certain accounts, she was told it would look suspicious. She was stuck in the middle, emotionally exhausted, legally vulnerable, and terrified that one wrong move would destroy everything she had left. Staffers said she often walked through the building looking hollow, eyes darting, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. She would vent to employees, saying things like, "I feel like they want me gone," and "Everyone thinks I'm the problem." And then, just days before the IRS showed up, she made a call in the middle of the night, crying, shaking, telling a confidant, "They're going to blame this on me. Everything is going to fall on me." Now, with the scandal exploding publicly and the emotional cracks widening, the truth about Erika's past, her inner demons, her crumbling relationships, and her buried secrets are about to collide in ways she is not prepared for. The storm that had been quietly building around Erika finally broke the moment the IRS letter hit her doorstep like a death sentence wrapped in government paper. She had barely slept in weeks, pacing the kitchen floor at 3 a.m., staring at old photos of Charlie, whispering prayers she wasn't sure anyone was listening to. But nothing could prepare her for this. The envelope was thin, but the weight of it nearly buckled her knees. Immediate review required regarding financial discrepancies within Turning Point USA. That one line shattered the fragile calm she'd been pretending to hold on to. It felt like the walls closed in on her as she sank into a chair, hands trembling, her heart pounding so loudly it drowned out the silence. This wasn't just an audit. This was an investigation. A federal investigation. The kind that could destroy reputations, implode entire organizations, and bury families overnight. And Erika, already bruised and exhausted from the chaos surrounding Charlie's death, knew exactly what this meant. Someone had pointed the IRS directly at her. Someone with knowledge of donations, travel budgets, consulting fees, and secretive accounts she barely understood herself. Someone who wanted her exposed. Someone close. The shock quickly turned into panic as she grabbed her phone, her fingers moving faster than her thoughts. She didn't call her lawyer. She didn't call her parents. She didn't even call a friend. No, The first person she called was Mikey McCoy, because whether she trusted him or not, whether she blamed him for her husband's death or not, he was the only one who knew the darkest parts of the operation. But he didn't answer, straight to voicemail. And that's when her panic morphed into something deeper, something colder. She felt it in her chest, like a shard of ice forming right where her heart used to be. Because Mikey always answered. Always. Even during his late-night calls with Charlie, even during the shooting, according to the footage. That footage, the one that wouldn't leave her mind, the one people kept dissecting on TikTok and Reddit, zooming in on his hand, his phone, his reaction. The one where he didn't flinch when the gunshot echoed across the tent. The one where he calmly lifted his phone to his ear before Charlie even hit the ground. Erika had spent months telling herself she'd imagined it. That grief was twisting her perception. But now, with the IRS breathing down her neck, the doubts came roaring back. What if Mikey wasn't panicked that day? What if he wasn't confused? What if he was following a script? For a moment, she couldn't breathe. Because now the financial discrepancies suddenly looked intentional. The missing $15 million wasn't just sloppy bookkeeping, it was strategic. It was planned. And if it was planned, then someone had been planning something long before Charlie ever got shot. She pulled herself together just enough to text him, "We need to talk now. It's urgent." No reply. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Nothing. It wasn't until later that she discovered something far more disturbing. Mikey hadn't just ignored her calls, he had blocked her. The realization sent a wave of nausea crashing through her. Why would he block her unless he thought she knew something? Or unless he thought the investigation would expose them both? And that's when the real twist hit her like a freight train. Mikey wasn't scared of the IRS. He was scared of her. Because there was only one other person who knew the truth about the secret account Charlie had set up months before his death. One account no one at Turning Point USA knew existed. One account that held donations intended for special projects, which were never publicly disclosed. One account Erika thought Charlie had created to fund a quiet retreat from politics, a way to protect his family if the chaos ever became too much. But after his death, Mikey had taken control of it. And within weeks, nearly half the money was gone. Erika had confronted him once, only once, and he insisted it was for security expenses and legal protections. She had believed him back then. But now, with the IRS knocking and Mikey disappearing, it all felt like a trap she had walked into. A trap laid months before, and she had no idea how deep it went. But the real twist, the one that sent her spinning, came when she checked the timestamps on the leaked messages allegedly dropped by Mikey's wife. One line jumped out like it had been carved into her skin. Erika already knows. Knows what? About the money? About the cover-up? About the shooting? She felt her heart plummet. Because she suddenly realized that the IRS investigation wasn't just about missing money. It was about motive. It was about opportunity. It was about who benefited from Charlie's death. And with the way the narrative was shifting online, with the way Turning Point USA was branding Mikey a hero, it was clear someone was trying to make Erika look like the villain. Someone wanted her to take the fall for everything. The finances, the confusion, the contradictions, the silence, the chaos. Someone wanted her buried beneath headlines before she could tell her side of the story. And now the IRS was at the door, ready to dig into every account she had touched, every document with her signature, every transaction she didn't authorize but would be blamed for. For the first time since Charlie died, Erika felt a terrifying clarity. This wasn't a scandal. This was a setup, and she was the target. As she stared at the IRS letter shaking in her hand, something inside her snapped. The fear, the grief, the exhaustion, all of it turning into a silent, burning rage. Someone wanted to destroy her to save themselves. Someone wanted to rewrite the story. And someone clearly thought she wasn't strong enough to fight back. They were wrong. Dead wrong. Because for the first time since Charlie fell on that stage, Erika wasn't grieving. She wasn't confused. She wasn't afraid. She was ready. And she was about to expose everything. The investigation exploded faster than anyone expected, and Erika found herself drowning in a whirlwind of subpoenas, late-night emails, and frantic calls from TPUSA staffers who suddenly couldn't remember anything about the finances they had approved just months earlier. Every hour brought a new leak, a new rumor, a new headline painting her as the mastermind behind a $15 million disappearance that she barely even understood. Reporters camped outside her house. Donors pulled back their support. Former allies began distancing themselves, calling the whole situation deeply concerning. Meanwhile, Erika watched the narrative shift in real time. She was no longer the grieving widow fighting to protect her husband's legacy. She was now the alleged orchestrator of one of the biggest nonprofit scandals in recent conservative history. And through it all, one name kept reappearing in anonymous online comments: Mikey McCoy. Whisper networks lit up with speculation about him. Threads on Reddit expanded by the hour. TikTok creators analyzed his body language at events. Twitter sleuths compared his statements against official timelines. But the strangest part was that TPUSA leadership kept defending him. Every time the heat got too close, someone would release a glowing statement praising Mikey's courage and loyalty. Erika knew what that meant. They were circling the wagons around him and isolating her. But there was still something she didn't understand. Why was Mikey so desperate to distance himself from her? And why was Turning Point USA doubling down on protecting him, even as inconsistencies stacked up like a tower ready to collapse? She didn't have answers, until she received an anonymous message. No sender, no signature, just 6 words that shattered the fragile clarity she had left. He wasn't loyal to Charlie either. Erika's heart slammed in her chest as she stared at the screen. She read it again, then again. The message was followed by an attachment, grainy footage, recorded from a phone, capturing what looked like an argument between Charlie and Mikey in a parking garage just weeks before the shooting. The audio was muffled, but the tone was unmistakable. Charlie was furious. Mikey was panicked. And through the distortion, Erika could barely make out Charlie's words. "You lied to me." Then Mikey's voice, frantic. "If this gets out, everything falls apart." Erika felt her stomach twist. What could they have been fighting about? Finances? Loyalty? Something deeper? But there was no time to process before the second message came in. Ask him where he was the night before the shooting. Her pulse hammered as she replayed that sentence over and over. The night before the shooting? Why would that matter? She had assumed everyone was traveling together, until she remembered something critical. Mikey had flown in separately. He said he had meetings. He said he had errands. He said he was handling logistics. But for the first time, Erika realized she had never questioned that, never verified it, never checked the timestamps on his flight. Fear coiled in her chest, like a living thing. Because if Mikey wasn't where he claimed to be, then everything about the shooting timeline was now in question. And someone wanted her to look closer. Meanwhile, the IRS was moving aggressively, Investigators wanted interviews. They wanted documentation. They wanted bank records. One agent asked her a question that made her freeze mid-sentence. "Did you authorize the transfer made from Charlie's private account 3 days before his death?" Erika blinked. "What transfer?" The agent looked at her with an expression that said everything. She wasn't just a witness anymore. She was a suspect. And that's when it hit her. Someone forged her signature. She hadn't authorized anything. But someone who had access to Charlie's personal accounts had. Someone with his passwords. Someone with his trust. Someone in the inner circle. And there was only one person Charlie trusted enough to give full access to his private financial system, Mikey McCoy. The realization nearly knocked her breath out. She tried calling him again. Blocked. She tried calling his wife. Went straight to voicemail. She even tried calling one of the TPUSA board members, but the moment she said the word transfer, the line mysteriously dropped. As panic rose in her throat, she realized the walls weren't just closing in, they were being pushed by someone from the inside. And she still didn't know why. But the universe wasn't done with her yet. Just as she gathered the courage to reach out to investigators with her suspicions, her phone buzzed again. Another anonymous message. This one was shorter, sharper, deadlier. "You weren't supposed to look deeper." Her breath hitched, because who would send that other than someone watching her every move? Someone monitoring what she found. Someone terrified she was getting close. The final nail came an hour later. A third message. This one containing a single video clip. Footage Erika had never seen before, filmed from behind a chain-link fence at the venue where Charlie was shot. It showed Mikey walking outside alone minutes before the shooting, speaking to someone in a black SUV. The audio was faint, but one sentence pierced through the static. "It has to happen today." Erika covered her mouth, the room spinning around her. That wasn't just suspicious. It wasn't just damning. It was the kind of thing that could rewrite the entire public narrative and place Mikey at the center of a conspiracy far larger than missing money. And that's when the second twist hit. Sharp, brutal, and undeniable. The SUV door opened. A person stepped out, a woman. And when the camera focused, Erika felt the blood drain from her face. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't an investigator. It wasn't some political operative. It was someone from Charlie's family. Someone who had publicly loved him. Someone who had helped orchestrate the narrative after his death. Someone Erika trusted. Someone who should never have been there. And the truth hit her like a blow to the chest. Charlie's death wasn't just an inside job. It was a family betrayal. She finally understood why Mikey blocked her. Why the investigation was targeting her. Why Turning Point USA was protecting him. Why the narrative was shifting against her. Because she wasn't just a widow. They had made her the scapegoat. And the people responsible were closer than she had ever imagined. The moment the leaked footage and anonymous messages began circulating online, the entire conservative world split apart like the earth cracking under an earthquake. What had started as a quiet IRS audit turned into a full-blown political wildfire, and Erika Kirk found herself at the center of an inferno she could no longer control. Social media erupted with theories, accusations, and dissected clips, each one more vicious than the last. TikTok creators began narrating the footage like true crime investigators, slowing down frames, zooming in on shadows, analyzing the SUV meeting, and replaying the infamous moment Mikey lifted his phone to his ear before Charlie even hit the ground. Twitter exploded with hashtags. Siu Justice for Charlie. Siu What Did Erika Know? Siu TPUSA Cover-Up. Siu Mikey Gate. and each one pulled the story further out of her grasp. The public wasn't just speculating anymore. They were choosing sides. Some saw Erika as the grieving widow being thrown to the wolves. Others painted her as the mastermind of corruption, the woman who benefited the most. Meanwhile, conservative influencers who once praised her suddenly fell silent, the kind of silence that screams guilt, fear, and self-preservation. Candace Owens made cryptic comments about family betrayal and the truth that will make everyone sick. Glenn Beck hinted that more people were involved than anyone originally reported. And Tucker Carlson's producer liked a tweet saying, "Charlie didn't die from enemies. He died from people who smiled at him every day." Erika felt every one of those daggers in her chest. But the emotional fallout wasn't just happening online. Within TPUSA headquarters, the atmosphere had turned poisonous. Staff members avoided eye contact with her in hallways, whispering behind closed doors. People she'd known for years suddenly treated her like she was radioactive. Her badge was deactivated for security reasons. Her office was locked for inventory. And every time she asked for documents to defend herself, someone claimed they had already been forwarded to legal, which was conveniently unreachable. She was being erased from the inside. Meanwhile, the board held emergency meetings without her, shutting the door in her face while her husband's portrait hung in the hallway like a ghost watching betrayal unfold in real time. And the worst part? Every time the board mentioned Mikey, it was with reverence. The heroic Mikey. The incredible Mikey. The young man who saved lives that day. Erika watched as they built him into a myth, a golden boy protected at every angle. But outside the political bubble, everyday people saw something different. A terrified widow being set up. Churches began whispering about Erika's emotional breakdowns. Bible study groups dissected her Fox News interview like it was scripture. Some defended her. Some condemned her. Some said she was being punished for pride. Others insisted she had been chosen for a spiritual battle. Meanwhile, gossip at conservative events spread like wildfire. Did you hear she knew about the money? Did you see that clip of her changing her story? Someone said Charlie told her he feared Mikey. I heard she wasn't even with him before the trip. It didn't help that Erika herself looked increasingly fragile. The pale skin, the sunken eyes, the trembling hands whenever she stepped into the public eye. One viral video showed her leaving a meeting in tears, stumbling as journalists yelled questions about fraud, affairs, secret accounts, and family involvement. People misinterpreted her silence, her grief, her exhaustion. They didn't understand that she wasn't hiding a scandal. She was drowning in one. And then there were the scrolls, the leaks that kept surfacing like cursed documents from a forbidden archive, internal memos, financial breakdowns, emails with redacted names, a missing report about surveillance cameras the night of the shooting, a mysterious invoice labeled emergency services with no description attached. Each new leak made Erika look guiltier, even though she had never seen any of them before. And in the shadows of all this chaos, one voice rose louder than the rest. Mikey's wife. People began spreading screenshots of her private posts, claiming she said she was silenced, terrified, and no longer able to protect them. Rumors suggested she fled town. Others swore they saw her crying in a parking lot with a suitcase. Someone claimed her family received a cease and desist. Someone else said her phone was wiped. And then, in pure emotional devastation, Erika's own family became collateral damage. Her mother begged her to leave politics. Her father wanted to take her children away for safety. Her sister accused her of protecting the wrong people. And Charlie's extended relatives, some who had always resented Erika, hinted publicly that certain members of the family weren't transparent. Erika snapped. She screamed at them. She cried through sleepless nights. She smashed her phone in frustration. She questioned every memory, every conversation, every moment from the week Charlie died. She could feel the world splitting open beneath her feet, the ground crumbling, the truth slipping through her fingers. And then came the leak that changed everything. A new clip showing that same black SUV, the one Mikey met with, pulling up to Charlie's house 2 days before the shooting, with someone stepping out who should never have been there. A member of Charlie's own inner circle, someone who had profited tremendously after his death. The fallout became nuclear. The kingdom was collapsing, and the final cliffhanger was seconds away. Everything erupted the moment Erika opened the last leaked file. A video so damning, so dangerous, it felt like someone had dropped a live grenade into her lap. It began with grainy night vision footage, time-stamped 48 hours before Charlie's death, showing the same black SUV from the earlier clip creeping down a quiet cul-de-sac. Erika's heart pounded as she leaned closer to her laptop, her breath fogging the screen. At first, the footage was too dark to make out anything but shadows. But then the SUV door swung open, and a figure stepped out, a figure Erika recognized instantly. She froze, her blood turning to ice. It was not Mikey. It was not a stranger. It was not a political operative. It was Charlie's own brother, the same brother who cried the loudest at the funeral, the same brother who spent months going on podcasts talking about justice and legacy, the same brother who had privately pushed Erika to hand over financial documents she didn't even know existed, the same brother who mysteriously gained control of several of Charlie's assets after his death. The camera zoomed slightly as he walked toward Charlie's house, glancing over his shoulder like a man with something to hide. And then came the part that shattered Erika's world. Charlie himself opened the door, alive, calm, smiling. He pulled his brother into a hug, an unusually tense one. They stepped inside. The door closed, but the audio recorder kept picking up the muffled conversation, and though the words were hard to make out, the tone was unmistakable. They were arguing, furious, low, sharp, an argument between two men who knew secrets that could destroy each other. Erika dragged the timeline bar, straining to hear. And then, through the static, one chilling sentence emerged. "You promised me it would never get this far." Erika's chest tightened. She felt the room tilt. She replayed it again and again and again until the words seared into her memory. Charlie wasn't confused. He wasn't being misled. He wasn't unaware. He was angry, betrayed, terrified. And then, even worse, Charlie's brother said something back, a whisper just clear enough to catch. "You should have kept your mouth shut." The footage cut off abruptly, leaving Erika staring at her screen in stunned silence, her pulse thundering in her ears. Her entire body trembled, because this wasn't just a family argument. This wasn't just a financial dispute. This was a threat, a warning, a confession. She had been right. Charlie hadn't died because of a random shooter. He hadn't been taken by fate or chance or political violence. Someone close to him wanted him silenced. And if Charlie's brother was involved, then the entire narrative around the shooting was a lie, carefully crafted by people who knew how to manipulate footage, evidence, statements, timelines, and grief. Erika staggered back from the screen, nearly knocking over her chair. Her hands flew to her mouth as she realized something even more horrifying. If Charlie's brother was involved, and Mikey was involved, then the IRS investigation wasn't about lost money. It was about burying her before she could connect the dots. They needed her discredited, They needed her isolated. They needed her terrified. They needed her destroyed, because she was the last loose thread, the last witness, the last person who could expose what really happened. And then, before she could even breathe, the screen of her laptop flickered, glitched, and suddenly went black. A new message appeared. No sender, no signature, just 9 words that turned her spine to glass. "Stop digging, Erika, or you're next on the list." Her phone vibrated violently in her pocket. Another message, another threat, another warning. Her heart raced as she looked at the door, suddenly unsure if she was alone in her own home. Shadows felt deeper. The silence felt heavier. The air felt colder. Footsteps echoed outside. Or maybe they didn't. Erika couldn't tell anymore. All she knew was this: she was in danger. Real danger. And the people she once trusted most, the people who had stood beside Charlie in public, were the same ones trying to erase her in private. She backed toward the window, phone shaking in her hand, pulse fluttering like a trapped bird. A car engine revved outside, slow, deliberate, waiting. And then the screen lit up one last time with a final message, a final twist, a final warning. "We know you have the footage." Erika's breath hitched. Her vision blurred. She clutched the phone to her chest. This wasn't a scandal anymore. This was a hunt. And she was the prey. And now that you've seen how deep this goes, ask yourself one question. If you were Erika Kirk, what would you do right now? Would you run? Would you hide? Would you hand everything to the FBI and pray they believe you before the people hunting you make their move? Or would you finally step into the fire and expose every single person who thinks they can silence you? Because this isn't just a scandal anymore. This isn't just political drama or a conspiracy theory or a messy internal conflict. This is a war behind closed doors, a war built on betrayal, money, power, and a truth so dangerous that the people protecting it are willing to destroy anyone who gets too close, including a grieving widow who did nothing but love the man they took from her. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Erika Kirk is being framed? Do you think Mikey McCoy is the mastermind? Or just a pawn following orders? What about Charlie's brother? Was he involved from the beginning? Or was he forced into something darker? And most importantly, who sent that final message telling Erika she was next? Drop your theories in the comments, because trust me, someone watching this knows the truth. Someone connected to this story is reading what you write. And the more pressure the public applies, the harder it becomes for these people to hide in the shadows. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because Part 2 is going to peel back another layer, one even more disturbing than what you just heard. What's coming next will make everything you think you know fall apart. Until then, stay alert. Stay questioning, stay loud, because silence is exactly what they want.